morning, everyone. It is Monday morning in the thick of July, the 28th day of July, and I'm Mayor Chris Jensen of Noblesville, Indiana, and I'm here for another edition of Mental Health Monday. And if you know anything or have school-age children, you know the end of July means back to school season. I know the Jensens are in full force. I've been to Target twice in the past 48 hours for back to school supplies, and so it is time. Here in Noblesville, our kids kick off this week, and so we have a edition of Mental Health Monday solely focused on back to school mental wellness. And I am joined by two of my favorite people. First of all, Kristen Boyce, the owner of Pathways to Healing Counseling. Good morning, Kristen.
Good morning, Mayor Jensen. Can you believe Wednesday is the first day of school?
You know, I can tell you as a parent of four small kids, I believe, and I believe it's time. So I know that varies across the board, and there's a lot of opinions on it, but I can tell you at the Jensen house, we need routine, and we are looking, well, and by we, I mean Julie Jensen and I are looking forward to Wednesday. I'm not sure the other four are ready to go, but they will be, and it'll be wonderful. But we're also joined by a really kind of an all-star human being. Would you agree, Kristen Boyce?
I mean, 100,000%.
Lynn Cook, the school counselor at Hinkle Creek, of which I was a Hinkle Creek Cougar back in the day. The Boy Scrolls were Hinkle Creek Cougars, correct? Yes. And Lynn Cook is really kind of a legend in Noblesville, and not just Noblesville schools, but no, we're just gonna pump you up, Lynn Cook, because you deserve it. Thank you for joining us this morning.
You are welcome. I am happy to be here. Good to see you guys.
This is great. This is your teacher's first day back this morning, and so
it is. It's exciting. We spent some time at the high school with the whole staff, and we are ready. We are excited to get the kids back, and got to see the new part of the high school that's opening this year. So all good stuff.
Well, we're going to put you right to work on a Monday morning to kind of talk about mental health and getting us back to school. So this is getting you prepped and ready to go. And hopefully maybe some of those teachers are sitting in their classroom getting things ready. Maybe they pulled up on their little Facebook feed, because we all could use a little just reset here mentally going into the week, going into school. And that's what we're going to try to accomplish today. So I appreciate it. Now, full disclosure, I have a back to school appointment that I have to bug out for here in about 20 minutes. So because life continues, even as a mayor and a dad. So I'm going to bail out at some point in time. You guys are going to continue this conversation, but I appreciate it, and you don't need me for it anyways. So, but before we do anything, Mrs. Cook, we always, I'm sure you tell your students as well, that we're going to focus on some breathing exercises before we get in this conversation to get ourselves regulated. So, Kristen, do you want to take us through that?
Absolutely. I was doing it this morning, and my husband was like, yes, I'm going to do the same thing. It's one of those where it's contagious. So once you start breathing, we hope that others around you in the family will begin to embrace this. It's called square breathing. What it does is it helps regulate our nervous system and take us from fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, which is our people pleasing, to a center. We come back to center. We come back to calm. I recommend 5 to 6 breaths an hour. So we're going to do it together, feet on the floor, to help us ground in the present moment. We're going to inhale through our nose. This is very important and very different for some people. So inhale through your nose, exhale slowly out your mouth. So we're going to inhale for 8. I'm going to do it a little bit different than I normally do, and we're going to do even a longer exhale. So that's the key to this, like you're cooling soup or cooling a cookie. So let's do 2 breaths together, feet on the floor, big deep inhale through your nose, and a slow exhale out your mouth. I don't know about you, but I noticed my shoulders they were up here, and then they're starting to drop as that breath. As you go on the exhale, you'll notice your shoulders will probably drop. Your jaw will start to relax. So let's do one more. Inhale through your nose and a slow exhale. As you're getting the kids ready in the morning, everybody breathe. This is my number one strategy I teach every single client. In order to get through the stress and anxiety and the hustle bustle of the day, your breath will help regulate you through so you can remain calm in the midst of what feels like chaos sometimes.
Yeah, and again, I have a little 4-year-old who you have both have had the pleasure of meeting, I'm sure, and she gets a little deregulated every once in a while, and she is learning how to breathe, and I'm really proud of. That's the best gift we can give future generations, right? Is to teach them how to regulate these things. So we're excited. Before we dive in full force into this, anyone tuning in live, welcome to join the chat. Feel free to ask some questions, say hi. Well, if we don't have an answer on the fly, we'll get back to you later on some questions, but we want this to be as interactive as possible. We know there's a lot of folks that watch live. There's a lot of folks that will watch throughout the week. So before we get into this, I want to categorize, there's different types of anxiety, Kristen, I imagine going into this week. There's the exciting anxiety. I see that a lot in my elementary school kids that are excited to go see their friends. They have ice cream social tonight. Pumped about that. And then we may have some like fear anxiety. I have an incoming freshman who's a little unsure. We found our locker once. We can't seem to figure out where that locker is again. So we're gonna go back tomorrow and go find that. No big deal. But there's just different levels and different feelings. You want to kind of talk a little bit about those different feelings, maybe how they present themselves differently too?
Sure. I think you made a good point. There can be excitement going back to school, and there could be a lot of trepidation because, like you just mentioned, a few. I mean, locker combinations, new students. I'm hearing a lot of people where I don't have friends in my bay. If you're in middle school, I don't have any friends in my class. I have a new teacher. I don't know my way around. It's a lot of fear on change and new people, new environments, and new activities that you're trying to all process at the same time. And we want to normalize that makes sense that there will be some excitement and fear. I like to say there's a mixture of emotions. So it's not just one emotion. Maybe a part of you feels excited, part of you feels scared. When we can name that for our kids and help them recognize that it's okay to feel that and that feelings live in the body. So maybe they get a headache, maybe they're getting a stomach ache, maybe they're saying they don't feel well. Oftentimes those are emotions, granted if they're not sick, but oftentimes those are emotions stuck like in the body that need to be processed. What does process mean? It's asking, what are you feeling? Tell me more about that. Offering empathy, because if we try to fix it and be like, well, you'll be fine, you can sit with Susie on the bus and da da da, we're negating the key part of this, which is process before trying to do any kind of fix it or solution. We can get to that, but the first part is the process. Lynn, what do you say about all this?
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, I think it's all the feelings, right? And a little anxiety, a little nervous, a little excited is a good thing. We should all be feeling that. I mean, I'm feeling that today. I think all the teachers that were with us today are feeling that. So I agree, Kristen, in processing it, listening to that with your child. And instead of trying to fix it right away, instead of trying to make changes, instead of that, just listen and be able to validate it and say, you know what, it's the beginning of the year. It's exciting and it's scary. And being able to just validate that is super important. And it's not, again, all the feelings are valid. So listen to them and process them, like Kristen said, and talk through them and know that it's going to be okay. The other thing is, I think it's important to remember that our children feed off of our energy. So as a mom, if I'm nervous and worried and realize that they're not in a class with a friend or have a teacher that you don't know or something like that, if I start to feed off of that and have it be a nervous thing for me, our kids are going to feel that. So trying to be as positive at the beginning of the year as a parent is a good thing. And as school people, we'll help you with that. So nothing is not, it's all fixable. It's all doable. I think that's my best advice for a parent is just make sure that you're excited. And if you're not and you need to talk to somebody about it, then wait till you get your kiddo on the bus and then call your friend and then you can talk through it.
I love that. I love the term skited. I'm scared and excited. And I taught my kids that. I'm like, you're skited.
Yeah.
Scared and excited. And they're like, yeah, I'm skited. And so it's like making up these terms that kind of gets them to go, yeah, that's how I'm feeling. And if they want to draw it out, that can be helpful. I think there's, you could play. I love role play. Like if you don't know how to make a friend, I role play with my kids like, oh, okay, mom, we're going to role play again. I'm like, yeah, because people don't know how to start a conversation. So I'll say, okay, I'll be Susie, you be Joey. How are you going to make a friend? And they're like, I don't know. And I'll say, okay, How was your summer? Did you do anything fun? Did you travel? You can help give them prompts to kind of role play how to make a friend, how to engage in conversation, because a lot of times kids don't know how to do it, especially with the devices now.
Mhm.
We're not really sure how to engage. What do you say about that, Lynn?
No, I agree. I think it's practicing it is a great thing, and helping them come up with, things to ask, things to say. If it's getting into the classroom is the hard part, kind of they're going to hopefully get to practice it tonight and meet the teacher night. And the middle school and high school have been so great about letting kids come into the building and come in a second time. If you're feeling today like it's Monday, the kids are coming Wednesday. If meet the teacher doesn't go well, or you feel like you get home and have all of this, call your school counselor, and we can have kids come back in tomorrow. We can make sure we meet them at the door on Wednesday. Making those connections early is important, and then and practicing it with them is going back and forth. And then the other thing is just making sure that they realize, like, your teachers are what did you call it? Skited. Your teachers are skited too. Your teachers are excited and nervous and feeling trepidation about the year. I mean, everybody wants this to be a good start. So making sure that your child understands it's not just them, that every student coming in feels that way. Every teacher feels that way. We all have that excited, nervous feeling. And we're here to help. So there's help for them when they need it.
Well, that's what I was going to chime in real quick. One question I wanted to ask about, from a parent perspective, Lynn, can you talk about like what's the best communication to a teacher? Because sometimes we're like, oh, he's nervous, I'm just going to send him on his way. He'll be fine. But, what does a teacher want to know? What does that communication need to look like? I would imagine more information is better, but I don't know from your seat, what does that look like as a parent communicating to the school?
I think it's great to be able to email the teacher and say, hey, we've got some nerves tonight, or wasn't a great night's sleep, or woke up this morning a little teary. It's good for teachers to know that. I think it's important. Our teachers are amazing, and they will meet the kids at the door, and they'll see it as they come in. For parents to remember too, once they get here, often the feelings that they're showing at home are different than the emotions that they're showing at school. So, knowing that. But I think it's always great to send an email, send it to the teacher, send it to your school counselor. And we can always do extra check-ins and make sure it's all going well. Because what we want by the end of the 3 days that the kids are here is that they feel comfortable, that they're excited, that they feel like they're in the best class and the best possible place for them, and that they can't wait for Monday morning. So that's our goal. So if parents are, getting those feelings from the kids, let the teacher know right away. That will help.
That's great. Thank you.
Let's talk about parents. I mean, in terms of, you mentioned it's important for the parents to kind of make sure they're getting their emotions regulated, so to speak. Otherwise, it trickles down to your child. How important is that part of the transition back to school?
It is. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just had a message that I muted. It's all good. No, I think it's super important. And I think as parents, I'm a parent and I have 3 adult aged boys now, but we're as excited and nervous as they are. So I think being able to be honest with the kids about that too. Being able to talk to them and say, I feel the same way. Like, I get nervous to put you on the bus. I get nervous, to send you off, but I'm also really excited because you're going to be a 3rd grader or a 1st grader, a sophomore in high school, and it's exciting and it's going to be a good year. So I think that that's important to, to be able to share with them too. And then also we got to have our people, right? So being able to have that conversation with a friend or a family member or someone when your child is not around is important to be able to talk through. And if you're feeling like that about school, let us know, because that is what, as school counselors and school social workers, that is our main job, is to make sure that kids are happy, healthy, and learning. And if parents are feeling like something's not happening there, we need to know right away. And teachers can help as well, and our administrators. That's why we're here. So making sure that they know, just as letting parents know, please let us know and let us know what you need, because we can work through it and get. Don't let things fester. I always say, don't call me in December and say, well, it really kind of started in August, because that doesn't help us in December. So let's get those things taken care of right away.
What are the best ways to talk to your children about this transition?
So, I think it is, I mean, I think one of the things is that makes us nervous is that they think they already know what it's going to look like. Maybe they have an older sibling or a neighbor, and or they find out about a teacher that they have, and oh, there's all this homework, and it's really hard, and second grade was early easy, but third grade is going to be horrible. Be able to try to help them understand that we're not going to catastrophize it now, that we are going to be able to just, let's see what today brings. And then when you're talking about processing, when they get home after school, make sure that you have time right after school, at dinner time, at bedtime, at some point to have the conversation, how was your day? And instead of just asking, how was your day? Because sometimes they'll say, fine. And then that will be the whole conversation. Be able to say, what was the best thing that happened today? What surprised you the most? What was different about today than maybe last year? And be able to have them start processing that and thinking about that. And then also breaking things into little pieces. So I think sometimes kids in third grade will come in and say, I've got to take this big test, I'm like, that's in April or in March. We're not going to worry about March and April. It's only August. So being able to chunk things down a little for them too helps.
I call them emotional check-ins, because I feel like if parents can learn how to do an emotional check-in, then we're doing the processing that we're talking about. So what an emotional check-in, like those questions you asked, are beautiful. And how are you feeling? I love that question because and they might not know. I love feeling books at the library. If you have young ones, there's lots of feeling books that you can purchase, or you can just download on the internet free. I know consciousdiscipline.org has a free feelings chart. I love that. Print it out, put it up, have them point to the faces. It's never too late to start to work on feelings, and doing those emotional check-ins daily, I think, is really important to this transition.
I completely agree. And it needs to happen daily, and it doesn't take an hour to do. That's the other thing. I think sometimes parents will say, we don't have time. We've got this and this and this. It can happen in the car. Oftentimes the best conversations about feelings are in the car because they don't have to look at you when they're talking about it, right? They're able to look at the back of your head or the side of you when you're having those conversations. So it doesn't take forever, but it's important to do, because if you're not having those conversations, then what you're telling your child is, or if you just discount it and they say, oh, I was nervous or whatever, just go, how was your day? Fine, great, and move on to the next thing. They don't realize that it's important. It's important to you. And as parents, it's important to all of us how our kids are feeling, right? But we get bogged down and get busy. And so just making time for that, being intentional about your time. And with, I have 3 kids, and I remember trying to intentionally have time with each of them. So that can be hard, right? But the dinner table, if you're all together, is a great way to process, because then the siblings can feed off of each other. Or again, in the car, if you're driving to soccer practice, that's a great time to be able to share those stories and share how those feelings are. But I agree with you. It's super important because it's an easy way to start the year off right, to practice that.
I like how you said it doesn't take that much time, because I do hear that. Well, we don't have time. I'm like, it's literally a minute or two. Like, it's really not, or it's got to be this big check-in. I'm like, oh no, this, like you said, in the car, at dinner, in passing, it doesn't have to be a big to do an emotional check-in.
Yep.
So I love that you said that. I think that's really important to note. Otherwise, people get overwhelmed and they're like, well, what do I do? I'm like, just start getting curious. Mm-hmm. Get curious and hold space without trying to fix it. I think this is the other thing I see.
Huge.
Because our own feelings get triggered. Like, oh, I remember when I didn't have anyone to sit with in, middle school, or I remember feeling like I was the odd man out, or whatever that feeling is from our inner child. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of project it onto our kid. Yeah. And so talk a little bit about that.
So all of these things that we're talking about with the feelings, things will come up, right? So, there are going to be kids that come to school on Wednesday and their best friends are together in a class and they're not in that class. And there's going to be somebody who isn't in the same bay, or they get to lunch and they don't see where their friends are, and they end up sitting at lunch with somebody they don't know, or they end up, having to sit by somebody on the bus they're not used to. So those things happen, and those things are good. Okay, because if everything goes perfectly, then we don't have to deal with the feelings that might be hard to deal with, right? If everything is set up perfectly, if you have, your favorite teacher with all of your best friends and it's all lovely and wonderful, that's great for a little bit, maybe at the beginning, but in the end, you don't grow. And so I think it's important for parents to realize too, we don't, as parents, we don't have to fix it. I mean, there aren't things that are going to be fixed. Things are just going to be different. So being able to reassure your child of that, being able to say, it's, gosh, I know it's hard because these two are together in class and you're not, but tell me about who you're sitting next to. Maybe there's somebody, help them look for a friend or someone that might need a friend. How did you help someone today? How did someone help you today? Like, those are all things that can kind of put them in that position. Then if you feel like those things aren't working, it is great to let a teacher know they're nervous. It's great to let a teacher know they're not feeling it right now. They're a little, can you give them a little extra TLC? But for things to be like changing classrooms or other things that parents will come and say, this just isn't going to work. They've got to do something different. Well, let's just see how this goes. Let's see if we can make this a good thing. And I feel like, this is my 14th year at Hinkle. So I've been here for a while. Can you believe that? I know. I feel like I just started here. This happens when you get old. But I do feel like parents that I see now and kids that I see now that are in middle school, high school and beyond will say, oh, I remember that year, or I remember when I had this teacher, or I remember when I had this issue with my friends, or I didn't have friends. And I remember, working through that. That's how we grow. And so that's true as parents. It's how we grow by letting our kids work on things that can be hard sometimes to not be the one making the decisions. It's also how our kids grow by being able to have a hard situation and figure out how to work through it.
That is key. A growth. These things can grow us.
Yes.
And I hear a lot. Well, I asked them how their day was, and they said, like, to your point, fine, which is feelings inside, not expressed.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of watch as adults. Am I saying day was fine? Am I sharing a little bit more? Not oversharing where your kid is trying to console you, but you are sharing in an authentic way. So feelings inside, not expressed is the acronym for fine. And so you're asking a little bit more curious, specific questions if need be. Mm-hmm. Is there a way to start a conversation with your child that you said, how was your, what did you like about your day? I think we could keep going on this because parents don't know the language. They don't know where to start, or they hit a dead end. Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit more about that.
I mean, I think it's important. You want it to be a conversation, right? So it can't be a yes, no question. It can't be a fine as your answer. And I like your acronym. It needs to be something that they're going to expand on. So, I mean, for myself, I like to start with a positive one. So what was the best thing that happened today? But then we don't want to leave out the other things. So you can also go with, what was hard today? Was anything difficult? And I agree with you in reminding kids that we also, it's hard for parents to get back into the school thing. It's hard for parents to not know your teacher well. By the end of the school year, of course, we all love our kids' teachers and all that. But it's hard to and that's okay to say to your kids, I'm feeling overwhelmed with this too, but we're going to make it. I love that we're starting school on a Wednesday. So we've got 3 days. So the kids only have to get through 3 days. So if it's a rough start on Wednesday or Thursday, we just, we're almost to Friday. We're almost there and we can regroup this weekend. So I think those are the things, and just being able to, and you're right, be honest about how you're feeling, but asking those questions about, and the thing that, I'm always careful too, and you're probably the same way as as a therapist, as a counselor, I'm thinking, okay, is that the right question? Am I delving too close into this? But it's okay to ask, who did you play with at recess? There was nobody to play with, or my friends were all together and I wasn't. My second question was always, who needed a friend at recess? Did you see anybody that needed a friend? And then kind of like you said, with the practicing, look at that, who's standing off to the side and by themselves? Who's on the swings by themselves? Who's sitting on a bench by themselves? That's somebody you could go check in with and maybe make a new friend that way. So that can help.
I like that. Well, how about routine? How important is sleep?
That's what I was going to say. And then I thought I was talking too much.
No, you're doing
maybe more important than the questions is get your kids to bed, right? Yes. And for me, get myself to bed. We are all on our summer schedule and it is hard to get off of it. But we need to. So sleep is super important. It's not too late. It's Monday. They're not coming in until Wednesday. So we still have 2 more nights that we can kind of push back that bedtime. And even maybe more importantly, get up early tomorrow on Tuesday. So that makes Tuesday night bedtime a little bit easier too. But sleep is super important. Nutrition is important, making sure that they're having, just good meals, getting into the routine of what we're going to be eating. I think sometimes in the summer, I don't know, there were summers that we survived on ballpark food, but, we're through that. We need to get back into eating things that are a little healthier. Sleep is important, and just figuring out the bedtime routine. And that needs to start an hour before they need to be sleeping, right? So what does that look like? And have your kids be a part of that conversation. I think as kids get older too, let them have some buy-in. You know what I mean? How do you want this to go? Because a lot of times I'm sure screen time is part of it. And all of the studies show you really need to be off those screens for an hour before you go to bed. So buying paper books again, right? To be able to read. Maybe they like to color. Maybe they want to journal. Those are all really good things to do at bedtime. And then have that time with you to be able to process as well and have the conversations. If with high school kids and college kids, that's when the big conversations happen. About 11 o'clock at night when I should be asleep is when and you're telling them good night and they're like, hey mom, there is one more thing. And I thought, oh, here we go. So if you're a high school parent, lean into that. That's the time. If they are going to share with you whatever time it is, then we're going to have to sleep later because that's important. Those are important conversations.
They are.
Yeah.
It is so key. I think talking about things talking about the routine and asking them how they feel. I don't want to go to bed. I get that. I get that you don't want to go to bed and it is hard. Summer we were a little more flexible and now we're having to go to bed earlier so you feel better at school.
Right.
Now, how do you talk to parents that say I'm struggling with getting my kids into a routine?
Mm-hmm. I think doing as many things as you can do at night before. For elementary kids, morning is hard because we bring them here really early in the morning. So we have those conversations, and I talk to kids about that. Have the clothes laid out. If you have an iPad to plug in, plug it right next to the backpack. If you're making lunches, make sure that everything that can be prepared before the morning is taken care of. And having your kids, again, be part of that conversation. When you get up, are we going to shower at night or shower in the morning? Making sure that toothbrush stuff is out. I mean, anything that maybe they would need to do with their eyes closed because it's early, do everything ahead of time and get that done. And again, that shouldn't be happening late night, right? So counting backward, figuring out, okay, when do we really want to turn the lights off? Then giving them the choice of, do you want to have, a half hour to read right before you fall asleep? Or do you want to talk to mom or dad beforehand? Let them kind of help figure out what that looks like. But the laying out clothes, having your things ready is super important. And then also letting them figure out a time to wake up. I think sometimes parents, will either, because it works for our schedule, because we're working. And so we're trying to get it around that. But see if there's somebody who really wants to, eat breakfast quick and be out the door, let them sleep the extra 20 minutes. But make sure they understand these are the things that we have to get done in the morning. So how can we best do that? And your kids often will come up with ideas you don't even think of. And then there's some buy-in there too. Because otherwise, if it's, if it's your grown-up telling you to do it, it's often harder to take.
It is. It is. I love our time together. It went super fast. Is there anything else in the last second or two that you want to say that we didn't cover?
I don't think so. I just think it is it's my favorite time of year. And I love the beginning of the year. I love the end of the year. I love the seasons of the school calendar. So embrace it. And I know there's sometimes already there'll be people, it's too early and we're going back too early. But, there's been a lot of thought into the calendar and how we do this. And in October, when the weather's lovely and not 105, we'll be happy to have a few days to be able to get outside. But in the meantime, just, be as positive as you can be and get excited for your kids. And at school, let us know. The school people, let us know what you need, because that's why we're here to help you. And we're excited for our school year.
Thank you so much, Lynn. I am so grateful for you and all the school counselors and teachers, administrators, and staff that are educating our children. It is such a gift that you all are giving all of us. And we are deeply grateful for your hearts, your souls, your time, and your energy. So thank you so much. If anyone is in a mental health crisis, 988, you can text or call anytime, 24/7. It's available, and trained clinicians are on the other line. So if you need anything, 988 is the resource I tell most everybody if there is a crisis. So thank you so much, Lynn Cook, for being here today.
You're welcome. Good seeing you.
Have a wonderful first day of school.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.